Hey everybody, welcome back to Throttle Hobby, and this is my E46. Now we've been working on this for a couple months. It got to the point where you could drive it. It drives great. I gotta do a video of actually driving this thing around. It sounds great, drives great, handles great. But if we want to do any more upgrades, any more putting power, and I am really thinking about putting power into this. I really want to do a turbo kit on it because it'd be something cool to learn, and why not? And if we ever want to take it to track day, we're gonna have to evade the issue of, unfortunately, can't put it off any longer. The oil pan on this is leaking horribly. So horribly, in fact, when I go take this thing for a ride, I can smell the burning oil on my exhaust. It's literally dripping down here and firing out that way. So we got to get that fixed. We got the gasket, we got the sealant. We're going to do a couple things to the oil pan. One being we're going to put a oil splitter, which is something you put inside the oil pan. So as you're driving around and you're going side to side, you're not sloshing or starving the oil pump. So that's one thing we're going to do. And the other thing we're going to do is, like I said, with the turbo kit, we have a turbo port here. This one we're not gonna have to weld, we're just gonna have to cut a hole in the oil pan. But first things first, we gotta get to the oil pan. So let's lift it up and get to the oil pan. I am gonna show you guys one thing you need to do for this job, and a lot of people say you have to take off a lot of stuff. I did some research on it. I watched I think one video I found of a guy doing something, but he said there's 6 bolts. You could drop the whole frame down and get to all the bolts just by moving the stuff side to side. So if that's gonna be the easiest way to go about doing this, that's how I'm gonna do it. But like it or not, we're gonna have to prop the engine up, and that's one tool you're gonna have to get. I got mine at Harbor Freight for about give or take 60 bucks. So we're gonna have to prop that up, and let's get started. So let's bring all the stuff in, get all the stuff together. I'll show you guys what you need, and we'll get the car up on the jack and start doing this job that we've been dreading to do for so long. Welcome to Throttle Hobby. All right, so we have some things in place. We have the oil baffle, which I finally found out what that is. Oil pan baffle. And what this does, once you install it, like it says here in the instructions in the oil pan, like this, once you install it, when you take turns, oil can go in through these portholes, but it can't go out. So you install it like this, hole for the oil pan, and that way when you're taking turns, let's say around a track or you're having a track day or whatever, you don't starve your oil pump. This is a must. You don't want to starve your engine of oil. Bad things will happen. So we have this. I can't find the gasket, although I know I bought one. It's around here somewhere, but even if we can't find it, some red RTV should do the trick. Just gotta clean up the oil pan really good, but we should be able to find it. So let me get this one last thing over here, which is the engine. I'm gonna call it the engine holder upper, the engine mount, hoist, whatever it is.
Are you stupid or something?
And I'll show you what that's all about, because you're gonna need it for oil pans on these. So this right here looks like a Mad Max spoiler, but this is actually the engine support bar, which is something you actually need for this job. And following the instructions, very easy. So I already did most of the stuff, just 16mm bolts, both sides. Slide these back in, put the special washers for them. I mean, there's really not much to it. And then these end parts will sit on both sides of the engine. I'll show you guys up ahead once I get it all set. You do need this, very easy to install. Like I said, 60 bucks at Harbor Freight, and you can use it for multiple engines of any BMW 3 Series or other, honestly. So let me get this on over there and I'll show you guys where to hook it up. All right, this is what it's going to look like. The rubber mounts go on the end sides of these. You can adjust it by turning these and tightening them up to fit the size of your car, both sides. And we got 2 of these blocks. I only need 1. BMW gives you an engine hoist mount right there, which is a circle. We just put the hoop in and then we tighten it down to the point where this doesn't move anymore. So now when we go to drop the H-frame, this will support the top of the engine up, preventing it from falling on us and causing any types of damage. So that's set up and that's good to go. Let's lift the car up and check out where these 6 bolts are supposed to be. There we go, just a little extra. And that, like I said, is always helpful and keep you safe from having a giant block fall on your face. So that's always good. So we're also going to do an oil change on this because we're going to have to drain the oil out anyway and clean up the oil pan. And this video is actually sponsored by Cast Oil.
serious?
No, it's not. I lied, but that'd be pretty cool. Cast oil. Call me. We'll make plans. We'll make moves. But anyway, enough jokes. Let's get this up in the air and take a look at that dastardly oil pan, the 6 bolts that hold that H-frame on. So as I said, I am not kidding when I said I had an oil leak. And the worst part about this is as it's leaking through the pan, because you can see the upper side is, let me grab a light quicker. Upper side is extremely clean, whereas this lower pan side is bubbling out with oil. A constant problem these things have. The issue is it leaks down all the way past the trans, and here's the worst part. It hits this back muffler, which then burns, and it smells like absolute ass. So that's why we got another reason why we got to fix this, because that is going to only get worse. So I think I found the 6 bolts the guy is talking about. 1, 2, I guess 3 right here, 4, and then we have 5, 6, I think, but we'll see, because now it seems like there's other stuff in the way, so we'll just have to see how to get that. And I can see right here 1 from the trans, 2, and possibly 3 bolts we're gonna have to remove from back here to separate the pan from the trans, or the bottom part of the trans. So nothing to it but to kind of do it. I'm gonna degrease this stuff first so it doesn't leak on my head.
Bruh.
Alright, now that I've sprayed degreaser all the way down my beautiful car, I have cleaned out where the cork is. Cleans up very nicely, gotta admit. We're gonna drain some of the oil out because we're removing the pan and we gotta put some cast oil back in there. So I might as well remove the oil and make it a little bit easier on ourselves. That should be a size 17 or a 16. And let's remove some of this oil. Oil leaking, not too bad. And the best part is I don't see any metal flake in there. So that is wunderbar. Next, we'll cork that back up and then we'll start getting on these H-frame bolts. The next thing I did is disconnect the oil level sensor, which you just grab both these tangs and squeeze inside. And that goes on here. We're going to take this off with the oil pan. Later on we will take these off. These should be 10 millimeters. You have 3 of them. We'll take them off before we take the oil pan and do anything else with it. You don't want to break your oil, I believe it's oil level sensor. You don't want to break that. So, all right, let's move on. All right, so now that we've removed 4 of those bolts, it seems like everything started teetering down. We're gonna have to remove the motor mounts here. Place your motor mounts, except I'm an idiot and I don't have them. But I could have sworn I did order them somewhere and I ordered them in red. So maybe we'll look for them, but right now we're gonna remove those. They're size 16 and I'm using a head that tilts to take them off. We're gonna do both sides, this side and that side. And when I get those off, we start lowering this down. I'll show you guys how that goes. All right, on this side, they were very considerate. They put the nut on this side. The other side, the nut's up top. But now what I'm gonna do is lower it slowly and see how far low I can get it before something gets caught up eventually. And hopefully it'll be enough for me to get all the bolts right there. But something tells me we might have to remove these axles. That diff, we'll get there when we get there. This little arm sleeve, but for right now we'll do that. We'll see how low this gets us. So we actually got this pretty low, and now we're able to move this pretty much everywhere we can get to all the bolts. So these all look like 10s. We are gonna probably have to remove this diff from here. It shouldn't be too hard. And that top bracket right here, right there, that holds onto the CV axle, little cover. And then we should be able to get all the bolts and just drop this pan. So something I actually researched and thought about actually worked. So impressive. That beats taking out the power steering pump and disconnecting the whole power steering, what is it called? The power steering rack. So that's pretty cool. So let's get these bolts out. Let's disconnect all this stuff. And this pan should be as good as out. So one thing I removed with a bunch of 13 millimeters is 4 bolts here to remove this part, which is now loose, attached to the CV axle. We're not gonna have to get rid of the CV axle, which I did. This side had a 12-point bolt nut, the other side had a 6-point. The sockets to that side, to the passenger side, was a 36 millimeter 12 point, and for the driver's side it was also 36 millimeter but 6 point. So someone's done this before. Now what I'm going to do is, we have everything loose, I'm going to remove these 2 bolts up here to get this to move, and hopefully with this move we can get this to move, and we can just slide this back, because this already moves, slide this back and out, or maybe we can tilt this somehow, slide it back and out, and then get that axle out, get the other axle out, and then work on the diff, and then we should be able to just get to the pan.
Nice.
All right, so with these 216s, these were 18s, you pull them off, you can get the axles out. Now I need my partner to come here because I have to pry this over while he holds that, and then we should be able to get the pan out fairly easy. So now I just gotta wait. So we got the CV axle out on the passenger side, the long shaft point. All this we'll clean up later. Next we're gonna have to get rid of this other CV point, but we're gonna have to also get rid of the differential. So I'm using a size 16. We're gonna get 4 bolts off of it, and that should just slide right out, and then we should just be at the pan. Alright, so it's a new day. As you can see, the pan is off, but right now we're being blocked by the power steering, which we have to remove. We got the gasket, we got everything we need. So a couple hidden bolts we found out about. There's a bunch of them in here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hidden bolts here, and in these little corners here, little holes, there's 2, and they're extremely long. They look like this. So now we're gonna get the belt off. We'll pull the power steering pump, and that should just come off undone. Be good to go. Looks like there's 3 bolts holding the power steering on, and we'll take the belt off. We'll just let it hang there for a bit, and should be good to go. After cleaning the pan many times, now we're just going to grab our 10 millimeter and get all these bolts tightened up, and that'll be the pan and gasket installed.